Hello, my name is Mark Humphrey. I'm a professional wildlife photographer and I run wildlife photography workshops for a living. And on these workshops, I often get asked, how have I found this location? So that's what I'm going to talk about today, how to find wildlife. I'm going to go through a few tips and finish off with a slightly less tangible, but possibly the most important tip. Let's get into it. So first off, I think you should utilise books. If you don't have the Collins Complete Guide to, be that wildlife or birds, then I highly recommend you pick them up. There's tons of information about all of UK's wildlife and also provides details as to when you're most likely to see them, whether they're a migratory species, and whereabouts in the UK is a good place to start looking. The book that started it off for me is by Andrew Marshall and it's called Photographing Wildlife in the UK, and it is a wonderful place to start. There are so many detailed tips, detailed areas about specific species that you find in each area. I'll make sure that there's a link in the description for you below. Apps on your phone. Now, I pretty much just use one app and it is fantastic. It's called Merlin. And if you don't know, you can essentially download all sorts of different bird packs, they're called. And this can be dependent on which country you're in, which region you're in, and it downloads all of the different birds within that region to your phone. So you can do a quick search. However, for me, that is not the best thing about the app. If you've used Shazam before to figure out what song is playing and by which artist, this app has the equivalent of that, but for bird song, and it is incredible. If you're not much of a birder, then just having this app out and about whilst you're going for a walk means that you know exactly what birds that you can hear, and it can also help you locate which birds you want to see. So if there's a bird song that you hear that you're not quite sure what it is, you just get out your app, make sure that your phone can record the song, and then it will tell you 99% of the time correctly which bird it is. So I highly recommend getting that. Now, if there are any apps that you guys use for wildlife, then I'd be very interested to hear, because I love having stuff just instantly available on my phone. So if I've missed anything, please drop me a message in the comments. Social media. Now, this is a big one for me and one that I use an awful lot. So I'm going to break it down into the various websites. So number one, Facebook. Now, I didn't use this for a very long time, but I found from joining local wildlife groups, wildlife photography groups, people readily post images and will probably not share specific locations, but you'll be able to get a very good idea as to where to find which wildlife. Plus, if you're an active member of that Facebook group and you post your findings, you post your photos, then it's more likely that you can approach someone else and say, look, where did you see that fox? Or where did you find that hare? Or anything like that. And the same goes for Instagram, really. If you start following people that maybe live in the same region as you or more locally, then you start to get an understanding of what wildlife can be found and where. Twitter. Now, it's not one that I use a lot. However, I do have a tip that if you go into the search bar and you've got a specific species in mind, let's say hawfinch, and then you've got an area where you think they might be, or you're visiting there, then try putting in hawfinch, New Forest, say, and then seeing what posts have come up with those words in. There are some people that will be willing to share exact locations, or at the very least you can see that they've been spotted there over the past few years, so you've got a good chance of going there and finding that species. And the exact same technique that I use on Twitter, so putting in species and area into the search bar, I will do on Flickr. And it's probably even better because there are way more people that are posting wildlife photography photos on Flickr, and some people will have included the area that they're found in. And lastly, I'm going to lump in Reddit and internet forums into the same box because they are essentially the same thing. But there is a wealth of information out there. You've just got to find the right forum or the right Reddit thread to subscribe to and probably become a member that is posting fairly regularly on there. Next up is probably the most obvious one, Google. As you know, there is so much information on the internet. The trick is trying to decipher what's useful and what isn't. But much the same way as I've said for Twitter searches or Flickr searches, just try and Google the species and the area that you're wanting to photograph it in and see what comes up. Be it the RSPB website that comes up with nature reserves that are on there, the same goes with the Wildlife Trust, or even just people that have written blogs online about their birding trips or their wildlife trip. Anything like that can give you a bit of a leg up in knowing that you're going to be in the right area at the right time. And if you are going to visit a nature reserve, I would highly suggest just making sure that you're open to having a conversation with the local birders and the local wildlife enthusiasts that are there at the time. And a top tip if you are doing that is make sure you've got binoculars around your neck. You may or may not know, but wildlife photographers aren't always viewed in the best of light when it comes to the birding community, and that is due to, well, the minority of people that just take things too far just for a photo. But I've found if you come with binoculars around your neck, people view you as a fellow birder, and I don't know why, I just feel like I'm more approachable when I've got binoculars around my neck. It's worth noting, whether you're in an urban environment or a rural environment, that just going out to the same place over and over again on local walks, it doesn't have to be far, can give you a much deeper understanding of what wildlife there is to be found there. Go at different times of the day. If you go in the morning or the evening, you may well see, I don't know, the odd fox or deer or hares or anything like that. Just try and go to the same area, get a deeper understanding for what wildlife can be found in that certain area and at what time. But if you don't have the time to continuously go back to the same location over and over again, then that's where a trail camera can come in very handy. You can just set it up somewhere that you think it's likely to come across wildlife, leave it there for 3, 4, 5 days, and then come back and see what you've got. And if you're interested in knowing how to get the most out of your trail camera, where to position your trail camera for the best results, then I will be doing a video on that over the next few weeks. So go ahead, drop me a subscription and you'll be up to date with any videos that come out. Now on to my final and possibly most important tip, and that is just be trustworthy. If someone has told you the location of a specific species, go there, take your photos and don't tell anyone else. If they've specifically told you, I don't want this getting out, then there's no need to share it online or do anything like that. And you will find if you are trustworthy, you're more likely to get told these specific areas in the future. So I'd recommend going out and trying to make friends with similar wildlife enthusiasts, and you will see just the wealth of information that can be shared between you. It really, really has made a difference to my wildlife photography. So if you think I've forgotten anything, then please do let me know, because I am always wanting to learn different tips and tricks on how to find wildlife. So drop me a comment if you do think that there's anything else I've missed. Finding wildlife is difficult. Finding wildlife in an area where you can photograph them is even harder and very, very time consuming. It's probably the main reason that people join me on my workshops. However, if you've got the time and you've got the patience, then I really hope that these tips can help you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.